Room is live. Okay, you guys are up.
All right. Switch to source.
So will you, well, hold on. Okay, so do you send the link to Chris?
Yeah, put through there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for your patience. We're just getting the room settled and we'll begin shortly.
Good morning. All right.
Ready for the camera? Stop sharing. Stop sharing. I don't see a link on the.
I still remember
That's exactly what I was looking for.
what we did.
Which one did we pick?
16 vaccination. It's the GWHB guest.
Okay.
Or GHWB guest. GWH. Yeah. Herbert Walker Bush. GHWB. You're unmuted, yes. Yeah. This is Patrick. Just wanted to thank everybody for their patience. You work with technology every day, so you know how this goes. Really like to get these meetings started on time so that we can finish on time, and many of you have other obligations as well. So apologize for the delay, and again, appreciate your patience. We are waiting for the link to be posted to make this an officially open meeting, and then we will get started. So thank you.
We're posted.
Nope. And now we're posted, so I will just continue talking. Welcome, everyone, to our fourth quarterly meeting of LTAC. There we go. We got the screens changed. Appreciate everyone being here. And this is our fourth meeting of the year before our membership year changes on September 1st. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our taking of roll. And Dr. Main will help us with that.
Patrick Plush,
Here.
Charlene Stubblefield,
Present.
Erasmus Day,
Present.
Luke Dowden,
I'm here.
Oscar Hernandez, Janae Higgins,
Here.
Pat Howard,
Here.
thank you, Janet Camps,
Present, and I do have a hard stop at noon regrettably today.
okay, noted, thank you, Janet, Alicia Lloyd, Timothy Snyder,
Here.
Nikki Whiteside,
Here.
Patricia Brago,
Here.
Ruth Chisholm, she noted she'd be absent for today's meeting. Scott Dillingham,
Here.
Ashley Dawkins, Michelle Giles,
Here.
Sean Jasperson,
I'm present.
Danielle McAfee,
Here.
Linda Murphy,
Here.
Wade Redman,
Here.
Aaron McGough,
Here.
Robin Poston,
Here.
and John Schnell.
Here.
Great, thank you.
Did we have Dr. Gaynor?
If I may, yes. I'm interim for Provost Dr. Sarah Lee, who left
Yeah.
Collin College.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
And
y'all.
you are Dean of Academic Affairs and Workforce at Collin College, correct?
Yes, at the iCollin campus, exactly. Yes.
Welcome. We're grateful to have you here. Sorry we didn't get to say goodbye to Sarah Lee. We're very happy for her and her new opportunities. But
Yeah, she's got a great opportunity. Did beautiful, wonderful things here, and we miss her greatly. And but we wish her the best. She sent us some beautiful pictures. She's out in Washington State, so.
Washington State. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we knew yet where she was. We weren't
Yeah,
sharing
uh-huh.
yet where she was. So she's at Washington State.
She is.
Fantastic.
And she sent beautiful pictures of cows and the cooler weather. And
Shh.
I know.
I walked over here in this black jacket, in Austin's morning sun, and
Yep.
yeah, Washington State sounds delightful. So,
Yep.
and
Beautiful
again, thank you
view.
for
Walla
serving with
Walla.
us. What's that?
She's in Walla Walla.
Walla Walla.
Walla
Wow.
Walla. Yep.
Sounds delightful right now. So
Yeah.
again, thank you for being with us. We'll treat you like family
Oh.
as long as you're here and
Thank
serving in the interim capacity or perhaps longer. So
Thank you.
again, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Good to see y'all. Thank you.
Of course. And now that we are officially at quorum, I need to remind you of the Open Meeting Act, which I do at the top of each of our meetings. All members and to maintain quorum must be visible at all times. Members should be seen clearly. So check your lighting and facial expressions must be visible. And members should only be off camera during breaks and or during our subcommittee work where we go into breakout rooms and that is not streamed. So I don't think there are any questions about that. We do that every time. I can see everybody. Looks good. So we'll go to our next agenda item, which is consideration and possible action to adopt the minutes of June 12th, 2026 meeting. And I would say maybe we don't usually call these minutes. We call them meeting notes because we don't capture everything everybody said as kind of thing. It's less formal than that. So you should have received those notes. So if you would take a moment to look at them, and I'd entertain a motion to consider them.
Fine move that we consider the notes.
Was it Janet?
Janet, sorry, Janet, yes.
Janet? And do we have a second?
I second the motion. Sean Jasperson.
Sean? A second from Sean. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, you can physically raise your hand or raise your hand, emoticon or gesture, whatever it is.
Unanimous.
It is unanimous. Motion carries to approve the meeting notes from our last meeting. All right, so now regarding this transition for our membership here, we have folks who have been serving and their terms are ending. We have others who have served and are being renominated, and then we have new members. And I will just read each of those categories of individuals. So those with terms that are ending: Dr. Robin Poston from SMU, Dr. Ashley Dawkins from Lamar University, Dr. Timothy Snyder from Houston City College, and Dr. Patricia Abrego, Texas A&M International, and Mr. Oscar Hernandez, Texas Southernmost College. So, and Dr. Dawkins, I know it was not your intent to end right now, and Dr. May and I have talked about redoubling efforts in the future to make sure that everybody who's serving and wishes to be renominated has that connection with the office at their institution that renominates them, so that can make sure there's not gaps in service, et cetera. It's happened with others, one whom is returning in our new members group who served previously, but also had that disconnect between the nominating office and the call for nomination. So I'd like to thank everybody, including Dr. Dawkins, for their incredible service on this committee and in the subcommittees. This is a volunteer organization, as I'd frequently like to remind everybody that it's very generous of the institutions and certainly of you as individuals to collectively contribute to what we're able to do. None of it would be possible without your individual efforts, and it's deeply appreciated. And it's very likely not just Dr. Dawkins, but others of you will be serving on this in some capacity again in the future. So look forward to those opportunities. And again, thank you for your contributions. Those who are renominated and will continue to serve until 2029, Dr. Wade Redmond, Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center, Mr. Scott Dillingham, UT Tyler, Ms. Charlene Stubblefield, Prairie View A&M, Dr. Michelle Giles, University of Houston Clear Lake, Ms. Janae Higgins, Howard College. So I don't say welcome back yet, but thank you for continuing to serve with us going forward. And our new members who will be at our first meeting in the new membership year, Dr. Christiana Christofidis at Texas Tech University, who previously served here, Dr. Mark Workman, Blinn College District. Known Mark forever, and I thought he would retire someday, so we'll welcome him back. Dr. Bruce Mock from UT Austin, or Mac, anybody know Mac? We're going with Mac. Dr. Robert Green, Lone Star College, someone who had served previously as well. And Dr. George Saltzman, Abilene Christian. George has been around for many years as well. So just great talent on this team, and really that's one of the great joys of serving on this committee, is to serve with so many of you and call you friends. So thank you. And I think that wraps up that recognition of our members related to all those categories. Any questions or comments about that? Nope, we're good. All right. And do we know if we have Dr. Dowd available? I think we want to move somebody up if we can, but
Yes. Yeah, we'd like to.
yeah, we've got 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we need to, as we often do, we've made some formal changes on the agenda to bring our visitors to the top so that they're not having to wait around on us. And we do have one priority that somebody has a 9:30 stop, and that is Cam, Dr. Mayard. So if you are on, Kat, we will. Yeah. All right, Cam, we will give the floor to you to give us updates on Sarah.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you inviting me to update your committee on Sarah. And as you know, I'm the Sarah Speed contact for Texas. So if you ever have any questions regarding Sarah or your institution's participation, please contact me. I don't have too many things to update, just some recaps. I believe the Texas Sarah Forum for this year that was held virtually on June 18th was a success. I divided this year the topics between basic topics in the morning and more advanced topics so that Sarah contacts could choose which topics were helpful for them and could come and go as needed. Unfortunately, the staff member recording the session for me has left the agency and those recordings are lost. So I apologize for that. I do have slides that I had offered to send directly to participants along with some helpful checklists, and anyone that had registered, I had sent those prior to that day. I just wanted to highlight that Chris Mall from Higher Education Licensure Pros presented on professional licensure. I think that that session was really helpful and it generated a lot of questions. So I appreciate his time in doing that. Thank you to all of you who had a part in the Sarah data reporting that took place in May and June. I think it's always a race to the finish, but I believe we had 100% participation again. And this data is really very valuable. And other entities are increasingly looking to NC Sarah for data on distance education in the United States. So thank you for the time and effort you took to submit that data to NC Sarah. I just wanted to note a July 1st change. Institutions on Sarah provisional status must post the reason that they're on that status. It does not affect very many people, but I just wanted to put that out there so that any references to the institution's participation in Sarah on their website should include the disclaimer that they are on provisional status and the reason why. And if that ever happens, I will help with the language, of course, and once that provisional status issue is resolved, you can take it right off your website. As I said, it's very rare, but I wanted to just highlight that in case it happens. The policy modification process continues working its way toward completion. Regional steering committees are currently voting on the proposals. As you know, we are in the SREB region. As a reminder, if the proposal receives a positive vote from all 4 regional compacts, then it will go to the NC Sarah board meeting in October for a final vote. And finally, I am very pleased to note that Texas will be hosting the SPE, or the State Portal Entity Conference, in San Antonio next month. I will, of course, bring greetings from all of our Texas Sarah participating institutions. That's all I have. So thank you. Are there any questions? Good. Well, seeing none, again, it's always a pleasure to present to this committee. And I apologize, but I do have to go to another meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahar. We're so glad that we were able to have you here and fit you in before 9:30. So even with our technical difficulties, you may not be aware of at the top of the meeting. But again, thank you for your service to Texas and to Sarah at the national level.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon. We are really fortunate to have Dr. Mahar serving in the capacity that she does as a leader with Sarah, as well as being the manager for the SPE for Texas. All right, we're going to jump back to agenda item number 4, which is our lovely discussion of Department of Education activities with Dr. Cheryl Dowd from WCET. Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much. I so appreciate being invited. My name's Cheryl Dowd. I'm the Senior Director for the State Authorization Network and WCET Policy Innovations for WCET. And I'm coming to you with just some updates regarding the Department of Education. And I was wondering, I don't see a place for chat. I would love to be able to put some links in for folks. Is there a capability for that, or should I just send them perhaps after the meeting today?
Send them to Dr. Main after the meeting today.
Sure.
Chat is disabled, unfortunately, for compliance with the open meetings rules. So it is a
Sure.
handicap for us sometime, but would love to have those links as soon as we could get those to be disseminated to the group.
That sounds great. I will do that for sure. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is to let you know where some rulemaking is in terms of rulemakings that have recently been completed, and also their implementation and things that are on the horizon. So starting first with the federal rulemaking around accreditation, it was called the AIM Committee. We know that notice of proposed rulemaking will be released any day now. It is at the final stop before it's released as proposed rules, which is with the Office of Information Regulatory Affairs, OIRA, which is part of the Office of Management and Budget, which is an executive agency office. And the reason for this is they have a one last review from the executive office to review the proposed rules, and then they will be released. That usually takes several weeks. However, the Department of Education has been able to move through this process rather quickly, and it had just gone to for this review. It's called an Executive Order 12866 review. I believe it was yesterday. So I've seen them turn it around in 24 hours, but I've also seen it turned around in a month. So I'm anticipating next week, because I'm supposed to be taking off next Friday, and they usually release things when they know that I'm going to be out of the office. So I'm anticipating this next week. So this will be the accreditation rules. It will very closely align with the consensus language, but for technical changes. So you do have access already to be able to review what is 99.9% what you'll see in the proposed rules. That does not mean that those will be the final rules, but these proposed rules give the opportunity for the public, typically a 30-day comment period, and we strongly urge people to review and comment as they believe that they should in regard to elements that they are in support of, or elements that they think practically are going to be challenging for implementation. So we do urge folks to take a look at that. It's Department of Education's intention to have these rules released by November 1, so that it can meet the master calendar structure that is designed in the Higher Education Act, so that they can become effective next year. So that would be July 1 of 2027, that they could be effective if they're released by November 1. We have spoken with many accreditors who are obviously waiting just to see what those rules will be, because they will then work very quickly to determine how this affects their standards, so that they can adequately inform their institutions of any changes in advance of July 1. So that's the accreditation rulemaking. The accountability rulemaking. So this is the one where they were talking about gainful employment, financial value and transparency, et cetera. That was released as final on July 1, 2026. And so those rules are available. They are mostly effective July 1, 2027, with some exceptions, very few exceptions. But this is about that universal framework for programs to meet a median earnings threshold. And so this will be important for reporting and review of your programs. This is where I was going to share a link with you about a page that is open to the public, available from NASFA. That is the Organization for Federal Financial Aid Officers. And I strongly urge that. It's nasfa.org/OB3. So it's all of the regulations related to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. I will be sharing this link, but they do a strong job being able to offer practical steps for your financial aid officers to be able to implement rules. And if ever there is a time to hug a financial aid officer, it's now, because they are going through a lot of changes right now. And so I find that their website, their resources to be top notch. So I would strongly urge you all to review that. Next, in regard to workforce Pell. So really, since we spoke last, nothing has changed procedurally since we last met, although there is one program, an EMT program in Iowa, that has been approved has gone through the whole approval process. And what we know is there are about 20 states that have made steps towards implementing. And I had read recently that there are 16 states that had to develop legislation to be able to implement Workforce Pell. So that is in progress. But what we see is a number of states are taking it relatively slowly and watching what is happening in other states to learn best practices. And they're also starting with only a few programs. They are reviewing what they have at their institutions that might be something that could be applicable. So we will see that moving forward. As recent as today, there was an Inside Higher Ed article about a session at the SHIO conference, and it was talking about managing data as being a really challenging portion of what it takes to be able to implement Workforce Pell. So I strongly urge, if you have access to Inside Higher Ed, being able to review that. But it's talking about also the need for coordination at the institutions between what is often called the workforce side of the house, or the non-credit side of the house, or the continuing education side of the house versus the typically academic side of the house, because the data is much stronger on the academic side of the house. This is a generalization, of course. But what we see is, especially on this non-credit side, this is something that hasn't been followed nearly as closely as the academic side. And I will tell you, just recently, WCET and SAN collaborated on a webinar about what is going on with the federal regulatory landscape. And there were many questions about relating to non-credit. And and I hear this about institutions being concerned about, well, how do we have this non-credit data? And so, as you all know, and I wish Cam was still here because I'd love her input, but the for-credit side is what is provided in SARA data. There is not a non-credit element of the SARA data at this time. I know they're talking about it. But institutions for interstate distance education, if it's non-credit, get the ability to use SARA if they're a credit institution. But we've lost sight of location structure. So I am hearing from institutions. I recently was working with a California four-year institution who admittedly said they do not know where their non-credit students are located or what programs are being used from outside of the state of California. So this is something we need to start to consider in our location policies. Do we know where our non-credit students are located? And that will tie into what is happening with the Workforce Pell structure as well. So I strongly encourage institutions to be having these conversations. As far as the RISE committee, that was the one that had the professional degree program debate. And as we know, there were it's one merged lawsuit and then another lawsuit from 25 states. And so the definition of a professional program has been temporarily stayed or blocking enforcement of that regulatory definition. But the court was specific to say that the institutions must move forward with the loan limits between professional and graduate programs, but use the statutory definition. Well, in response, the Department of Ed, through guidance, indicated what they believed met the statutory formula, and they provided that guidance. Well, since that time, this coalition of nurses and healthcare professionals have pushed back on that and amended their complaint to indicate that they believe that the department did not go far enough. There are other programs that would meet the statutory definition. Meanwhile, the lawsuit for the 25 states had a little bit different tactic, but both of them, the courts have given them kind of parallel tracks to be able to address this in these two different district courts to be able to address that. But I don't think you're going to see any resolution of this before the end of the calendar year. So that will remain in flux, but institutions should be very careful and talk with their general counsels about how they will review the statutory definition to make a determination about a professional program. Then on the horizon, the Department of Education has provided, as have the other administrative agencies, back to that OIRA group, they put it out, the OMB OIRA agency rule list. And so it gives us an indication of the agenda that the different agencies have. Specifically to the Department of Education, they have indicated several rulemakings that are in the future. So just to be aware, the two typically negotiated rulemaking structures to look forward to. First will be one that the undersecretary has indicated is called the Christmas tree. He calls it that rulemaking. It's about Title IV related issues. His description is that these will clean up some areas. So it's not like an in-depth on any of these areas, but some areas that need to be cleaned up around the areas of change of ownership, administrative capability, cash management, and program length. And that will deal with the certification procedures for for-profit institutions providing programs that lead to a license. And then they also want to look at 90/10 again. And then separately, they are intending a reducing anti-competitive regulatory barriers rulemaking that will talk about textbook packaging rules and also about transferability of credits. That will be a separate rulemaking, and those will follow the standard rulemaking structure of negotiated rulemaking that we're most familiar with. And we will initially start with a notice of the intention and also seeking the committee members. So they will give the categories that they will be seeking nominations to serve on that committee. Separately, I want to point out that they intend to address FERPA. And in doing so, this is not a Title IV rulemaking. So what this means is this will have to do with a typical rulemaking as done by other agencies and the rest of ed, which is to provide the notice of proposed rules without a rulemaking committee meeting. The agency develops the rules, then we have an opportunity for comment. So it doesn't have the typical flags that we see with negotiated rulemaking, with all of those steps along the way that give us an indication that things are happening. So we need to be very aware. Obviously, we have it flagged and we are watching it very closely because it will come out as a notice of proposed rulemaking, much like the issue came out with accessibility 2 years ago for the DOJ. So it goes straight to notice and you have opportunity to comment, and then it'll go to a final rule. So we're watching for that. And then just the final thing is to make everyone aware, as you probably already have, of the Secretary McMahon's letter to the institutions about to have the institutions commit to policy reforms. It's a little softer process than what was used in that compact structure several months ago. So just wanting this to be on everyone's radar. Certainly there have been reviews by ACE, Inside Higher Ed, and the there's one other one, but I just want to make you all aware that this is something that you should have your institutions have knowledge of. So that is a very quick review. I want to share with you that what I will be sharing in links are links to that NASFA page that I was talking about, but also they have developed FSA, Federal Student Aid website has developed a number of pages, one specifically to One Big Beautiful Bill Act information, as well as there was a recent training, and I went to that training, and you can have access to those slides about implementing the new accountability rules. And so that's something you probably will want to share with others at your institutions, as well as new webinars that are available this month, and additional office hours that the department is offering in terms of these new rules for implementation. So just want to help you all be aware of that. And also, just before we came on, I got news that the department just released new guidance to support financial aid officers about less than full-time loan limits, pertaining to the new rules. So that guidance literally just came out today. So that was something that was a recent release. So I will share all of these different access links. And if you all have questions, I'm happy to take any.
Thank you, Dr. Dowd. I have a question for you and a question separately for our committee members. I'll start with the one for the committee members. Is there anyone who at their institutions feels like they have a good handle on that non-credit discussion about location? Or are they having those discussions? I don't want to single anybody out for, you're pretty sure everybody's unaware on your campus, but if any of you are already wrestling with this or have a good handle on it, I would love to know that. All right, I'm not seeing any hands or seeing anybody respond. So my guess is that we're all probably in a similar boat where we're pretty uncertain where that stands or what needs to be done. So I think your advice to have those discussions soon would be well heeded. So I appreciate that very much. The question I had for you, Dr. Dowd, was regarding the new international student regulations, which isn't specifically dealing with learning technologies. And I'm trying to remember if that's coming out of Department of Homeland Security or if it's coming out of Department of Education, but where they are making it increasingly restrictive for international students to come to the United States to study, to make any changes once they're here. I think at the master's level, they would not be able to change their major. They would not be able to change to another institution. So some very, very challenging restrictions for recruiting and supporting international students. Is there anything that you have that you could share on that?
So while these are not specifically dealing with students who are participating in from another country that are studying by digital learning, this is not something that I am steeped in. I, like you, have learned of the new restrictions. I am happy to do a review and provide you with some analysis. But what I can share with you is something to look forward to in the next few months, and that is institutions in the U.S. who are serving students located abroad by using distance education, because the institutions are required to comply with whatever the country's rules are. And we know that that is beyond education, includes data privacy, includes accessibility, et cetera. So I'm sorry, that is the other direction than what you were asking about students coming here. But I'm happy to look into that and provide you with better analysis about students coming to this country to be in person and the restrictions that are involved.
Well, that's okay. It is out of scope because it's not specifically about the Sarah and the things that you would normally handle. And I just know that it's disappointing to see how it is going to impact folks, and a little bit of it is still unknown, but and how it might affect students who are already in progress. If they were to leave the United States and come back, then there are some restrictions that are placed on them. So it's not even a free pass if you already are in progress with your degree. So no need to do any additional research, but do appreciate that offer and having the discussion with us about what's going on there.
Could I share just one other piece with you? And that is, you know, a lot of, we talk about Sarah. Sarah is one element of interstate activity compliance because the institutions have a broader responsibility to other rules that are state specific, that are beyond what Sarah provides for purposes of institutional approval. And I raise this because then again, looking back at that recent webinar that we held, we had a lot of questions from institutions that still are wanting to understand why Sarah does not provide workforce Pell program approval or professional licensure program approval. And it's just wanting to help institutions piece apart what is institutional approval through reciprocity, which is the broad understanding of being able to offer activities in a state, but the institution is still responsible for state specific that's outside of that institutional approval. So whether it's program approval or general responsibilities in another state, such as new AI rules. We know that states are coming out with new AI laws. We know some states are now having data privacy laws. State of Colorado has their own accessibility laws. So it's So I would really appreciate if institutions could, if you all could share with your institutions that Sarah does a lot, but there is beyond Sarah. And that's where the State Authorization Network really comes in, because we help them understand the whole picture beyond institutional responsibilities through Sarah.
Thank you. I saw California just passed a AI related law where websites that serve above a certain threshold of users have to label anything that is AI generated content as AI generated content, which that can be, I mean, potentially very challenging, especially if there are hefty fines associated with it. When people make websites, they're often using AI generated content and not labeling it visibly nor in the metadata. Is that the kind of increased chaos we can expect to see as there are these piecemeal AI regs going in at the state level?
Yes, potentially, and Utah as well. You know, and as my friend Marianne Boki often says, if you've been to one state, you've been to one state. So, you know, we see that states have a variety, which is why the development of the state authorization reciprocity agreement was just such a boon, because certainly, you know, bringing states together to have common ideas about what could be the oversight is really extraordinary. Because we do have states that have different interests and needs. And so this with the AI, also with the data privacy, we see with some states with data privacy, they're exempting higher education institutions. But some states, you know, it's going to be different. And so just because it comes from an institution in a state, the institution shouldn't believe that it's just about what the rules are in their own state, and recognize that there could be responsibilities developed by that state itself. And certainly we see that play out with professional licensure, because, you know, the states could have registration responsibilities. They could have program review specific responsibilities. Right now, we see a temporary moratorium on outside institutions providing clinical placements in Tennessee. New York also has big hoops to jump through. So institutions need to be aware of this and have somebody who's got their eyes on it as they're starting to look out of state to offer their activities.
Thank you. Are there any possibilities that the federal level will step in either with privacy or with AI regs so that it would supersede what the states are doing and eliminate the patchwork of regulations? I know that there's been resistance at the federal level to place any regulations on AI, but even frontier model founders are calling for regulations to help. So I wonder if that is a possibility or not really on the table right now.
Well, there's certainly legislation right now that's talking about mostly in regard to privacy, but it's going to have an AI element to it. So while the legislation has come out looking a lot like K-12, there could be some impacts on higher education as well. So, you know, Senator Cruz, you know, is big into that with his legislation right now. We're waiting for that to be marked up. So we will watch that, but that's why we're also watching the FERPA rule, because we think that it could be influenced by where Congress is going with a variety of bills that they're developing at this time.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot to keep our eyes on. And thank you for helping us do that. Yes.
Sean has a question.
Sean, sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing your hand raised with the Texas A&M logo there in the corner. So you have the floor.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
You know, the Marcom wants me to be brand conscious.
Absolutely.
So I want to switch the topic just a little bit. You mentioned one of the policies or rules that are being considered or evaluated. You categorized as textbook packaging rules. So there are lots of things that could be in that space. If you could expand a little, for example, we have universities that are packaging textbooks with tuition. At A&M, we call that our I forgot the name of it. It's also, we bundle a textbook with technology. Back in the old days when I was in school, that was a floppy disk in the back of the book. Now it's a code that can get you on a website. It could be perhaps packaging the whole digital accessibility with textbooks, or perhaps publishers that are now kind of, oh, if you pay us one low price for, a right arm, then you can have access to all 100,000 of our books. So could you provide a little more background about what is being considered in that space?
So it's very interesting that you say that, because we're only speculating based on the fact that they're phrasing it as removal of anti-competitive or reducing anti-competitive regulatory barriers. So what we know is, if you'll recall, at the end of the Biden administration was a rulemaking that within the cash management rule, they addressed this textbook rules, and we're debating the opt-in versus opt-out, because currently most go as an opt-out. So we're anticipating that it's going to be something along these lines of what is going to be the situation for the student. So, and one can imagine that they're also considering where the textbook publishers are going to be on this. I think there's some tea leaves that still need to be reviewed more. But what will happen is, when we get the notice of the intention to develop the rulemaking, they will do an executive summary of what their intentions are. And certainly going into the rulemaking, the department is going to provide this department has been especially keen to do this, is provide their initial language, their initial draft language, so that we can follow it even more closely. They're seeing it as some of these textbook packaging rules as being anti-competitive. So we'll have to deem from that, what at this time, what that could mean in terms of their goals. So I look forward to very soon. So this rulemaking probably will come after the Title IV issues rule. So it's going to be later in the fall when we review that.
Okay, thanks. It's interesting, the whole anti-competitive, because one of the other concerns, not only are the publishers saying, hey, bundle everything together, but there are some publishers who will bundle a third-party tool, for example, a Packback or an iClicker, et cetera. And those are increasingly becoming problematic for our students at Texas A&M, because they're paying, one faculty will choose one, a different faculty will choose something else, and now they're paying all these fees, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's an interesting component of that.
It will be, and this is something that from the rulemaking 2 years ago, is the end of the Biden administration, as I said, they were talking about it's more than textbooks. I think that was a shorthand phrasing, but it certainly included equipment, any sort of equipment that could go along with that packaging of resources for a particular course or program.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. A slightly different question. You mentioned FERPA now as well. What's being considered under FERPA for modification or review?
So again, we're in the very early stages of seeing really small snippets of what the department's intentions are from this website. It gives a one-liner. And so that's really not enough for me to be able to. I'm sure there are others who have an ear closer to the department to be able to know their intentions. But what we do know is there are concerns about data privacy, and there are concerns about AI specifically, and what that could be, what doors that is opening. So my anticipation is that we will start to see some more guardrails for that. And so that's what I am anticipating at this time. And again, in terms of try again to read tea leaves, trying to see what Congress is talking about right now. What are some of the Republican bills? Because those will probably influence where the department goes in terms of its of the rules they develop.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Very good questions. Others from our other committee members? All right, hearing none, we will say thank you very much. We are so grateful to have you here. Your counsel is incredibly valuable to us, and we look forward to welcoming you back later this fall. We haven't scheduled our next calendar of quarterly meetings. We will send out a poll shortly after this meeting to to do that and get you invited so that you can come and visit with us again, because again, we appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you have any follow-up questions that, didn't come to mind at the moment, my email is very easy, cdowd, D-O-W-D, @witchy.edu. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to communicate with you all. So thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Yep. And I know you promised some links to Dr. Main,
Yes.
and she will disseminate those to the group. So members, you can expect those.
Thank you.
Again, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Our next agenda item, going back in order here with coordinating board updates, are legislative updates. And Jim, who is usually with us, he is in another role. So Glenna Brune, you are providing the legislative updates. And did I pronounce your last name correct?
You did. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a hard one to get. But yes, Glenna Brune, I'm the Associate Commissioner of Public Affairs. And yes, John Wyatt, who usually presents to y'all, has moved over to from our GR team and is now running our TASP. So he is our TASP coordinator. If anybody has any military scholarship needs, that's where that is.
Is that what TASP is charged with, is military scholarship
It's the
administration?
Yes.
All right.
It is. So John is still here in the agency. He is just moving over to be the coordinator of that. It is a program that has a lot of interest in the legislature, and so he shepherds that along now.
Fantastic. Thank you for providing us some insight to where he is. We always appreciate having him, and now we appreciate having you with us.
Definitely. And at the coordinating board, I handle all of our Marcoms team and our GR team. So that is kind of what I oversee here. So just a little update for y'all. Try to make it as brief as possible, but we have been pretty busy. I'm sure John has given you a lot of this information. So hopefully this is just a brief update on some of those things. But we've got I like to start with, we've got 23 Fridays until we hit legislative session. So it is fast and furious and going quickly. We, during the interim, had 76 bills, 125 obligations, and 13 studies that we were asked to shepherd during last session. So we've been busy doing all of those things. We've seen some incredible results with how the agency and stakeholders have worked together on a lot of these committees that we were appointed to shepherd through. One being the performance-based funding for 4 years, which we just released the report that went over to the legislature last week. We also had 2 other reports that we sent over, the report on student financial aid in Texas, and then also the study on the college entrance exam scores. So CLT is now part of that group of ACT and SAT. So that is all posted on our website as well to Report Center. But all of those studies and reports have gone over to the legislature. So we're also wrapping up the General Education Curriculum Advisory Committee. They've had their final meeting and they're working on their report to the legislature on what that core will look like. So they've been working hard on that. There's 14 members of that, 21 members were on the PBF. Cheryl mentioned about Workforce Pell Grants. We still have the applications open online on our website. We have gotten a good group of those turned in and submitted to the feds. So we're waiting for approval there and very hopeful that most, if not all of those get through. But again, that's a priority of the governor. So we've been working diligently on that. But the grants are still open if any institutions are interested in turning in programs that would align there with workforce. And then in addition, you've probably seen a lot of the news on community college finance. The Standing Advisory Committee work groups are working on some statutory recommendations for the fall. And then our teams have been over speaking to legislators on all of those intricacies of all of those reports, the GEC, the CCF, and the PBF, making sure everybody's understanding all the bits and pieces since they're so intricate. In addition to all of that work that we've been doing at the agency, we've also had a lot of hearings. They've just really started picking up. Last week, or week before last, we had Senate Finance, where Andy McLaren, who's one of our assistant commissioners in funding, testified. He spoke to higher ed transparency and reporting obligations and any gaps in data and oversight that we have. Some of you might have watched along on that. That was an exciting hearing. And then same day we had the Senate Higher Education Committee where Dr. Rosser spoke, and he spoke to SB 37 and our obligations there, including the GEC, which again we're working on. Some of the regent training was a big topic at that hearing, and what exactly that entails, how many times that needs to happen. And then Deputy Commissioner Sarah Keaton spoke to the community college finance funding model. The commissioner has also spoken to House Public Health earlier this last month, and so that was another one that we had on our list that had an inquiry of what all the agency is overseeing. The Senate Finance also met, or Senate Higher Ed also met on the 29th, and they talked about the PUF and the TUF. We were not part of that, but that was another hearing that had higher ed as an issue. On the 17th and 18th of this month, we'll have House Higher Ed meeting. Those will be pretty long hearings. There's a lot of panels. There's 7 charges. So we'll have several people from the agency testifying. We've got Sarah Keaton, commissioner, will also testify. Daniel Perez, who is an associate commissioner, and then Dr. Troutman will also be testifying. We'll be talking about the state of higher education, affordability, the foreign adversary protections. We will not speak to as much of the HRSC as some of the other people that will be asked to testify, but we do have a role in that, just as assisting with that, with putting things on our website, which we do have all of the information, software that is not to be used, things like that already posted on our website. So we are kind of the repository of that information for the HRSC. We'll also talk about research competitiveness, credentials, and then advising with some of our tri-agency partners, TEA and TWC. And then we also have another hearing that we may be involved with, and that's the Senate Select Committee on Veterans Affairs. They've asked if we would like to testify, so we're working through that to see what information we can share there. Prior to all of these hearings, we make sure on our GR team that we've gone over and had conversations with all of our legislators, with all of the committee members and their staff, making sure that we've got that communication back and forth, and again with all of our stakeholders. So just making sure that everybody has the information they need to make wise decisions legislatively. Also, just to mention for our LAR, that is due August 14th. So coming up, we plan for that to be financial aid, and then also this 3% reduction for all agencies across the state. We'll probably be asking for some of that back so that we do not hurt financial aid in any way and are able to keep that at 70%. It was a little less last session. We'd like to get it at 70% this session. Just some dates for everybody on their calendar, which I'm sure these are already marked on your calendar, but pre-filing starts on November 9th and it ends March 12th. So we're gearing up for that. Legislation comments already flying around at the Capitol and bills being put together. So we're engaging legislators on that. And then session will begin January 12th. And then it will end May 31st. So we've got 20 Fridays in between there to work our way through. So again, 23 days till the start, or Fridays till the start. And we thank you for everything y'all do and all of your work with Texas students. And thank y'all for serving on this committee. That is it for my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it so much. Any questions from our committee members? A lot to keep your eyes on, and thank you for all the work that you're doing to coordinate the hearings and the impact studies, et cetera. We appreciate you representing us and look forward to having you join us again in the future.
Good. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Right, our next item is item C, Workforce Education Updates with Christine Salzman, Interim Assistant Commissioner of Workforce Education. And let me see, I can't see you on screen right now.
She'll be back at 10.
10:45, okay, you told me about that. And she is, at least on an interim basis, replacing Dr. Tina Jackson, who you may remember is usually with us in that role. And can you remind me of Dr. Jackson's new role?
She's gone on to McLennan to be the
McLennan
Dean
College.
of Workforce.
Yeah, Dean of Workforce at McLennan College. So lots of transitions everywhere. All right, so we will come back at 10:45 to workforce education updates. So we'll move forward with agenda item 5D, student success and institutional partnership updates with Dr. Main.
Thank you. Good morning. As usual, anything I reference as far as links or calls to action, I'll be sure to put in a post-meeting follow-up email along with other things that come up throughout the meeting. I'll start with just general agency updates. We held our quarterly board meeting on July 22nd. In addition to our LTAC nominations for this next term, our annual LTAC activities report was submitted to the board. I will share that report as an attachment and a follow-up email for your reference. The major policy discussion for July's meeting was a report on performance-based funding. And also another point of interest was the data insights presentation and associated slides called Many Students, Many Pathways, Understanding How Texans Earn and Apply College Credit. All the materials for the July board meeting are available on our agency website. And just a reminder about board meeting schedules. Previously, board meetings were preceded by a full day of committee meetings. So kind of a Wednesday, Thursday schedule. Beginning with this past July meeting, board meetings are now scheduled for Wednesdays for the one day, and October 26th will be the last board meeting for this fiscal year. All right. Shifting to division activities, so student success and institutional partnerships. Coming soon, a newly refreshed Open Educational Resources in Texas statewide playbook is in its final stages of editing. This is a resource that was developed by practitioners and advocates actively involved in the labor of open education to guide new and expanding OER work at institutions of higher education. The playbook was last updated in 2023. It aims to support institutions as they work to build capacity and drive systems change around OER. It also serves as a guiding document for institutions that have not yet engaged in OER work or taken advantage of existing programs and opportunity. The hope is that the Texas OER Playbook will serve as a guide on the journey towards OER awareness and advocacy at your institution. And there is also a companion course available in our OER Texas repository that's also undergoing a refresh. In our last meeting, I announced the release of the OER Grant Program Round 5 RFA. The goal of this OER grant program is to provide grants to Texas public institutions of higher education to adopt, modify, redesign, or develop courses using only OER. We're awarding nursing OER adoption grants of approximately $15,000 each and workforce OER collaborator grants of approximately $285,000 for the grant period, which will be September 1st of 2026. Through August 31st of 2028. And I'm pleased to share that we're on schedule to announce our awardees later this month. The Student Success Acceleration Program, or SSAP 3.0 grants, are another important priority of the agency. This program includes funding programs that improve retention rates, increase existing capacity to serve more students, expand program impact, or otherwise increase credential attainment and graduation rates, academic achievement, and affordability for students. This past Wednesday, a memo was sent announcing the 20 institutions that will receive $300,000 in grant funding to implement their student success projects. Some of those institutions are represented in this meeting, so congratulations to you. And I will be sure to forward that memo on for all of you to read. Last meeting, I also shared details about our Digital Design for College Connect pilot program. This pilot program supports Texas community colleges in adopting enhanced, peer-reviewed, no-cost English and Math College Connect courses designed to improve college readiness and student success outcomes for our dual credit students. Summer and fall would be onboarding, and spring of 2027 would serve as the teaching semester, concluding with evaluation of the pilot next summer. Through an interagency contract, institutions will be compensated up to $25,000 per course they adopt. And we've begun the process of meeting with institutions to discuss participation and are looking forward to launching this pilot early fall. If any of this intrigues you, please let me know. And I look forward to meeting with you, Dr. Howard, next week. Our OER Fellows programs, part of our OER Professional Development portfolio, is about to kick off with our third cohort of participants. 11 new fellows will gather for an in-person workshop in September to begin their fellowship journey. I also want to call out the Texas Conference on Student Success. That's October 7th through the 9th. This year it's hosted at Texas State University in San Marcos. The theme is Beyond the Surface, which invites us to look deeper and explore the underlying currents and interconnected forces that influence and shape student success. Registration is now open. A colleague in the division, Dr. Dion Johnson, and I presented at Sam Houston State's Digital Education Summit in late June. Our presentation, Connected for Success, Building Better Pathways in a Student-Centered Learning Ecosystem, focused on the interplay between OER initiatives and student success. And I know Dr. Chisholm couldn't be here today, but kudos to her and her entire SHSU online team for always putting on an exceptional event year after year. If you all have events that are coming up and you'd like to share, you can either do that here in our meeting, but also always feel free to pass on event information that I can include in follow-up emails following our advisory committee meetings. And lastly, I just want to thank the members that are rolling off for this term. On behalf of our entire division, I just want to sincerely thank you for the time and effort and contributions you've made to the committee, not just in the committee itself, but in all of the extra activities and panel sessions and who knows what else we've asked you to participate in and offer your expertise toward. It's a pleasure to work with you and to have gotten the chance to get to know you. And I will expect to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Main. All right, our next item until 10:45. Let's see how we're doing on time.
Yeah, 10:16.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we go to the next item and then take a break. So our next item 6, is discussion of learning technologies in higher education. And I think what we put this on here for was to make sure we had a place where we could discuss artificial intelligence and adapting to innovation. And that this will be a standing item for us here. And Dr. Main, I wondered if the A2I committee, we had recommendations that came from them to this committee. We refined them, prioritized them, and communicated them for sharing internally with the coordinating board, and wondered if there was any action on that at this time.
Those are under review. I expect to have an update for our next LTAC meeting.
Very good. So with that in mind, I wanted to open the floor to the broader adapting to innovation space and AI or other things that you find relevant at this moment in time to talk about. I know that since we last met, we've had several frontier models who have had their development models escape containment during testing and hack other sites, et cetera. So it is a really exciting time. I know that the Pope has Pope Leo has held a convening of experts from the AI industry and leaders around the world and come out with a new encyclical. I had Latin, so I should remember it, but it's Magnificum Humanitatis, which I'm not sure, it sounds like it translates to the magnificence of humanity. But it is to encourage us to wrestle in really with two areas. One is the ethical use of AI, and then separately the AI arms race and the implications for that, as it seems to be misaligned with human values. And we know there have even been calls from some of the frontier model founders and leaders to slow down the development because of these recent developments where it's clear they can't control what the technology they're producing does, at least all the time. So with that preamble, I will open the floor to comments, questions, discussion. Everybody's feeling good about it, right? Robin, trying to read your body language here.
So yesterday, personal story, I actually had an epiphany. I went to Copilot and said, take all the emails from the last month in this folder and write me a report. Because I chair a committee anyway. It was all the emails that were flying around about the committee status and stuff. All the subcommittees were doing, blah, blah, blah. It brought it all together and made the report, and I just shipped it off, and I was told, wow, this is the best report you ever submitted. Y'all, it did it for, I was blown away. So how, and it's changing. Like, I couldn't have done this a year ago or 6 months ago. Like, how do we keep up, Patrick? How do we keep up? I don't
know that
that's doing that.
that's
I don't know.
really possible anymore to keep up with everything that it can do. And what makes it particularly challenging is we're trying to keep up while we also need to be looking at what are the implications when we automate entire sectors of industries, and what do people do for one, income, and two, human dignity and pride in work and productivity as and it probably won't always be called artificial intelligence. It'll be renamed something else in the future, probably in retrospect. But, is when it can make us so much better, and sometimes it can be better than us without us, right? So, I don't know that keeping up is really even possible. It's aspirational and good luck. But I think at the personal productivity level, learning how to use it to make your work better is great. Poking around with it, certainly continue to check it, but it is improved in so many domains, from creating graphics, infographics, photos, videos, plans for implementing a complex process, and at a speed that even the brightest humans with lots of time, they just could not produce that same artifact in the amount of time that a few well-crafted prompts could produce with AI.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Ashley, please. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
It'd be good if I unmuted myself. No, I was just going to say, one, you cannot possibly keep up with everything. It's insane. I had people suggest that I should be able to. It is not possible, no matter how much you would take in. But I can tell y'all, one of the things that we're doing at Lamar, and I think all universities need to be thinking about, is now that it is impacting almost every sector of everything we do, and if anything, society, if we're not even thinking about specifics of how it's impacting specific degrees. So we have to shift our attention to, are we providing that knowledge to our students and what they need to do to demonstrate their human knowledge and skills that AI can't do. A lot of people meet me and they think I'm the AI lady. So they're like, oh, you must be wanting us to all love it. I don't need people to love it. I do need them to be responsive to it, because if it were something else, we would be accused maybe of even being negligent if we weren't responding to it. I think of my own field, audiology. We had that shift many eons ago from analog to digital. And a lot of people really were anti-digital because there was a change in the way that sound was being processed. Long story, but anyways, people had become loudness junkies on analog hearing aids. And so at first they hated digital hearing aids, but there were actually better outcomes, right? So there were folks who kind of dug their heels in and was like, this seems to be a better product. I'm not going to teach this newer thing. After a while, they started to be viewed as very negligent, right? Because they weren't preparing their students for what was actually going to happen when they were done. To me, that's what this is. And so I do think Texas institutions need to be figuring out what does every single graduate from their programs need to know. So we're attacking it that way at Lamar. We're doing AI in every program, but it's not a prescriptive thing where we're saying that this is what you have to insert into your program. It's let's investigate with the program what's happening in the field and what could happen in the field. And now let's determine, do our faculty have the knowledge to be able to teach those things and where does it belong in the curriculum? But the other thing we're also pushing, because agentic AI is becoming a bigger issue on its ability, especially to complete online work, is how are we inspiring students enough to want to be involved with the process of learning in spaces that are easily completed by AI? And how are we looking at the process of learning more than we're looking at just outputs? So I think there's a lot for us to think about at institutions. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, so I won't. But I guess what I'm saying is we've been pushing this idea of redesigning. We've been pushing this idea of inserting AI into pieces of things that we're doing. And it's really a much more holistic thing that we need to be looking at if we're not going to have a bunch of folks who are coming out not with the skill sets that they need to be able to participate in society. There's a lot of work studies coming out showing essentially they're not hiring students straight out of college anymore because they're having to both get them ready for the job, do on-the-job training, and upskill them in AI when they could take people who already know how to do the job well and just upskill them in AI, and it's less work. So we also have students who are less likely to get hired straight out of college than they were 3 years ago. So there's just a lot for us to think about, I think. Now I'll shut up.
No, that's a great contribution. And the last thing you said is I've seen lots of studies and reports on it recently of new grads really struggling to find their first job, 12 months, 24 months, even in what were high demand areas just a couple years ago. I read a blurb from the CEO of Price Waterhouse Cooper saying that they were hiring fewer accountants and consultants, and that they are hiring data scientists, but also people with broader liberal arts education to help keep the interactions and the business humane, right? So that's a real shift. But of course, the need for internships even more valuable than ever, because that is one of the way that students get not only the credential, but the experience that increasingly is needed for that first job. So I'm wondering, Ashley and others, if as you're implementing this cross college AI integration with the curriculum, if you have faculty who are just like, no, I'm going to be retiring in a year, or I'm just against it, and they're really holdouts and not willing to participate or acknowledge that, hey, AI is important. It's important in your industry and in your course.
Yeah, we definitely still have that. There's pockets of that. I work with a lot of different institutions and systems, and I would say that everyone, no matter how big or how small the university is, there's still plenty of pockets of that. What I'll say that we're doing at Lamar to kind of offset that is we are pushing the idea that it's an issue of whether you're actually teaching. It would be no different than if you were never updating your classes, right? So if it was a class that you taught the same way since 1990, why are you still teaching it the same way? Is there anything honestly that's changed in that subject? And if it has, and you're not doing it, then you're not doing your job. But now what we've done is we've approached it from a programmatic stance. So we're going to the chairs first and then the committee of the faculty to evaluate what is changed? And we're not just taking their word for it. So we have a university innovation team who reviews that and then looks at what are they seeing from professional organizations, from alumni, from research, what is happening. And if they haven't identified some things, maybe because either they don't like it, uh, or they lean into one thing that's very negative and don't provide everything, then we provide them all the information. We say, here's what it actually looks like. Where does it belong in your curriculum? So let's say, Patrick, you're the person who's very anti the
Yes, I
idea of
hate it.
teaching it.
I can't stand
I
AI.
kind of don't want you teaching the primary information for that, right? Like if you're going to be anti it, might be a problem. So what do we need to do about the curriculum to find where it does belong, and how can we keep it out of your hands, but still have you understand that your class still has to change? So what we're saying is every class has to change. It's just that some will be intentionally integrating AI and information about AI. Other classes might be being responsive by changing the way their assignments are being done to look more at process, or they might be changing the effort they're putting in to get curiosity from students. I always say we can't rely on students just to have the executive function to think long term about the fact that the impacts they have today and how they're using AI or how they're not using AI in their classes, and whether they're being truthful and doing their work themselves or not. They don't always have that executive function fully there yet. So the only way we're really going to get them invested in wanting to do their own work is to get them excited about it. So we're pushing the idea of excitement as like a pedagogical tool. But I have had people say to me, Patrick, that they retired early because of me, and I don't feel bad.
Kudos to
So
you.
just gonna say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see two people with hands raised. Janet, you were first, and then Sean. And I want to put John Snell on deck if he's willing. I would love a student voice and perspective on this. And if you've had any discussions with the Student Advisory Committee, certainly bring those, but your own experience as well. So just wanted to cue you up if you're willing, John. I see you're nodding your head. So great. We'll come to you third. Janet, you were first.
Thank you, Patrick. I would just like to springboard off of actually what you've said, and you as well, Patrick. This is, I'm on the, it's a strategic technology acquisition committee at my institution. One of the things that is very critical for us is remembering the human, respecting the human, and the idea of agency. Do you really want to give up your agency? Do you want your words to be your own? And that's, so we've kind of moved from the actual technology side into more conversations about that, the actual human, the students. And then my office also deals with faculty. Well, what's the faculty voice? You can't just have AI do your whole course and never look at it. There's all kinds of regulatory problems with that, but that's kind of how we're framing it. And yes, the liberal arts are making a comeback because of the human, because they're around the human. And for students, I'm seeing a shift going all the way back to his committee and your work on different domains. With that, this is something that I've worked with my instructional designers when we are talking with faculty about AI, and that is going back to the seminal Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's not necessarily learning theory, but it's a way to help faculty get more comfortable addressing their needs so that we can then have a more open conversation. And I think that's true no matter, student all the way up to the highest office, all the way up to the regents, in fact, and board of trustees, whatever your institution may have. And Chickering and Gamson, all of because AI, like Ashley, you said, every class changes, it needs to change. Because it affects all of that, I'm seeing more of a return to roots of modern education and some of the grounding principles and theories that go along with it. So At my institution, yes, everybody think, oh, don't forget the human. It's all about the human. It is, but we have to then break it down, and we have to decide on our own frameworks, not just follow this framework for change, because that risks leaving humans behind. And so at my institution, we're really focusing on the human and how not to subjugate humans down to the technology. So that's my perspective from Del Mar.
Thank you, Janet. Very helpful. Sean?
Yeah, I want to pick up a little bit where Ashley was towards the end of her comments with respect to agentic AI. We all know, and we talk to our students, we talk to each other, oh, make sure you're checking the results that you get back from AI to ensure they're accurate and so forth. But increasingly, we're not getting results from the AI back until there's problems. So the frontier models, it took them a while to realize that their tool had gone rogue and was hacking. Just today, I read a story. There's been others like this, but just today, I read a story of someone who was using AI to run a backup of their system. The AI determined that it put the backup in the wrong place, and so it was going to correct that, but it reformatted the original hard drive rather than changing the destination backup hard drive. So deleted all the stuff it was supposed to be backing up, right? And so there's this interesting phenomenon of, yes, we're supposed to check what the AI does, but we don't get in the middle of these workflow parts, the agentic part. And so that's concerning from the standpoint of, researchers who lose their data. You can also read some of those scenarios that are happening. Right, every day there are new things that we have to address. This is also back to this, how do we keep up? There are these new things we have to address, but it takes us a while to find out we even have to address them. And so I think that's an interesting component of that we at Texas A&M are wrestling with, is how do you understand and anticipate those things? I also then wanted to kind of just throw in a couple of things. One, we're increasingly hearing from the journals across the disciplines that the number of submissions of papers is increasing at an exponential rate as people are writing papers with AI and submitting them, right? But yet we can't use AI to review them. So there's some things, right? So that's not necessarily the learning technologies, but it is. That's how our graduate students are learning, is they're writing papers, and they're supposed to review papers. And so that's another interesting component to wrestle with. And then lastly, one thing we're struggling with as well at Texas A&M, the main campus, is AI grading. Increasingly, especially our younger students. For example, my daughter just graduated from high school, and she is extremely anti-AI in everything. So I think increasingly our younger students are saying, hey, they're recognizing that they're getting the short end of the stick because AI is teaching them, AI is grading them, but yet they're told they can't use AI. Right now, I realize there's some of those things, but the whole AI grading in particular, especially as we look at online, I know in our business school, I have intense pressure from the deans to figure out ways to make it easier for faculty to teach a course. And one of those ways is to do AI grading, because we want to increase the number of students, and so we have to grade faster. But yet then how can I justify that I have regular and substantive interaction in my class if I'm not the one evaluating the students' work, providing students feedback, et cetera? So kind of collectively, those issues are just, again, we started off back when ChatGPT was released with this small problem, even though, right, and now it just keeps getting larger and larger, more layers to the onion as we go on. And I also would echo what some of the frontier models are saying. Let's slow down a little bit to make sure that we understand where we are today before we start adding new things to wrestle with.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard an apt metaphor on my ride down yesterday about AI and agentic AI in particular being this huge meteor that is rushing towards the planet Earth. But if we all just took our hands off the AI keyboard, it would vanish, it would vaporize. But if a few people are still using it, then not so much. So what we need is that framework globally that ensures ethical use and solves the alignment problem, particularly part of the AI arms race and the frontier models. And so I think as much as helping students understand how to use it in their discipline and get it in every course in their curriculum, it is helping them understand their place in the larger discussion about AI and humanity, civilization. You know, what is it that they need to know? What is it that they need to help others know about AI? Because you really need clarity about it before you can have agency about, well, what can I do? I feel like I could do nothing as one person. Well, me personally, having these discussions right now, that maybe it just helps my conscience, but knowing that we're getting towards the same page, working with the same audiences, trying to solve this problem, that's what I can do. You know, I can't pass legislation, et cetera, but having these discussions where we as thought leaders and decision makers at our institutions can influence how this ultimately rolls out. Ashley? And then John, I think
Yeah,
I
and
started
I'll
with
be
you.
quick. I'm going to share a
Quite all right.
couple of links with Gwen. One thing that I want to point out, and Sean was talking about the research part. If y'all have not seen the webpage Retraction Watch, I highly encourage you to take a look at it. I'll send that link to Gwen. But essentially, we're at the highest number of retractions we've ever been at with articles now as well, because people are not using AI appropriately. And I think that that's a really negative thing to be happening at a time where the value of higher education is also being questioned. I think that it adds a lack of credibility to our spaces, especially if we're asking students to be ethical in their use of it and having integrity. So I do want to point out that there's an increase in those articles that we're seeing submitted, and now a really big need for reviewers, but also it's getting harder to review because the information sounds so plausible. And it is getting a little better about not hallucinating references and what have you. So usually it's misquotes more than it is false references now. It's a matter of it's taking leaps, right? Like the article said that chocolate ice cream was good, and it says that the article said that chocolate ice cream is the best and no other ice cream should ever be eaten, right? It takes these leaps and bounds that it shouldn't, but that's ending up in articles, right? Because there's pressure for people to publish, and so they're doing it this way. This is the supportive way they can use AI, but it also is setting a bad example for our students. So I think we have to think about that and ourselves in that space as well. The other thing that Sean brought up was the regular substantive interaction. That's something that our university has had to look at pretty heavily over the last few years, because we have some really large online classes anyway. So we were seeking other ways to support faculty with graders. And those graders are individuals who are qualified in the spaces. They could teach the course themselves, but it's not the faculty member necessarily who's always doing the grading. So we were looking into regular substantive interaction, and I think it applies to anybody considering AI grading. I will tell you, I'm not a fan of AI grading, and we can go down that path another time. But looking at how faculty are interacting with students, especially in online courses in new ways, I think is something that we have to do in the era of AI. We have to kind of change from this idea of being sage on the stage and then giving some feedback in the background. I think the participation in group discussions, facilitating interactions in other ways. There's a lot of different ways that are listed from the U.S. Department of Education on what those kinds of interactions should be. I think we have to push more of those that have a little less to do with grading as well, because I do think AI grading is going to become a part of what we do. I mean, the learning management systems are trying to figure out ways to do it well. And so I think we're going to see some shifts, and we're going to have to really start considering what our faculty doing to really encourage and have that really learning experience with their students in a substantive way. So yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. Thank you. Scott, I see you have your hand raised, but I'm going to go to John Snell first and then to you, because I've had you queued up for a moment and eager to hear what you have to say. John?
Hi. So, um, I guess two things from student perspective. Something that I believe it was Ashley Dawkins said earlier was that not responding to it is negligence. I really liked what she said there. There was I shared this in the student subcommittee, but there was I believe it was a LinkedIn post that I saw that said that Jurassic Park is not a movie about dinosaurs. It's a movie about what happens when technology outpaces our ability to understand or control it. So all, with AI as technology, it's here every morning when we wake up. It's advanced further than we thought it could do yesterday, thought possible. But at the same time, we have to be responsive and we have to embrace it, but we have to embrace it very carefully. And then the second thing was a little bit just a few seconds ago, we were talking about like entry-level opportunities and internships and that side of it. And AI can kind of does, in my mind, it kind of does two things that affects those internship opportunities. One, like we were talking about earlier, it grounds workforce preparation because AI is being used in the workforce, and it doesn't always make its way to higher education in that way, like training you for AI use in the workforce. And internship opportunities can prepare you for that by being exposed to how AI is being used in the workforce. The other thing AI can do is threaten internship opportunities altogether because they can AI can be used for those, basically replacing, has the capabilities to replace entry level opportunities. And something we talked about in the student subcommittee was how those internship opportunities or entry level opportunities really have a lot of value to students, especially in addition to exposure and to the workforce, um, in learning and guarding things that at least currently AI can't do. And those are the things like the human touch and soft skills and learning to act and work in a professional manner. Um, so yeah, those two kind of sides to how AI is affecting internship opportunities, threatening them altogether, and then at the same time being a valuable piece of workforce preparation.
Absolutely. Keen insights there. I think what we're seeing right now as a short-term, hopefully, symptom of new grads finding difficulty entering the job market, that may begin to rapidly stack up. So we're graduating new students every few months, right? And if the ones that graduated in the year before them haven't found jobs, and then you have more searching for these same opportunities, it could be epidemic at some point where we have a large unemployed class that we produced at our institutions and they can't find meaningful work. So yeah, and John, the velociraptors are right outside your door. I like that anecdote. Thank you for bringing that to us. Scott? Oh, I'm sorry. You are on mute, sir.
Sorry, thank you. I know we're a little beyond time, so just real quick, Patrick, kind of to your point about continuing conversations and having conversations to support where we can, and again, kind of to Ashley and Sean's comments about, in particular, research publications. We institutionally are trying to figure out what guidance is the right guidance for faculty. There's very specific questions about, even we haven't had this happen yet that I'm aware of, but even forward thinking, what if something that has been accepted gets retracted due to AI usage, right? Or an accusation, right? What are our protocols? And so we're trying to figure that out. Just the tenure and promotion process in general, right? What should be in place, in particular for our junior faculty who are working towards that, right? What's going to be the expectation in 3 years, so to speak. So I'm just sort of throwing out if there are conversations happening and there might be a worthy, I don't know how to connect and share, but it would be we would be very interested in ideas and perspectives that other folks have as we try to pull together some local policy. So I just wanted to share that and just say we're very open to input if anyone has some.
Thank you for sharing and for offering that invitation. So people can follow up with you directly. Yes? Great. Well, we will make that the last word for our discussion at this meeting, at least as part of this agenda item. And do you know how long this is likely to be?
Let's check with her and see if we should
Okay.
before break.
Okay.
She's on there.
Amy Pfluger. We have Amy next from Shared Services IT Research and Advisory Services Pilot to provide a presentation. She is the Senior Director of Student Success and Institutional Partnerships. Amy, we knew that you'd be coming back around 10:45. We've run a little past that. We haven't had a break yet. Just wanted to check and see how long your presentation is and whether we should take a break first or go ahead.
I'm okay taking a break first or letting, if Christine is ready to do her update, because I think she was at 10:45 as well.
Oh, you're right. That was who we had coming back at 10:45. I apologize.
That's okay. I can go after Christine.
Okay, and Christine, are you back online?
I don't see her.
Okay, I don't see
I
her.
think it's time for a break.
Yeah, okay. Everybody feel good about a break?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so we will take a 10-minute break. It's just about 10:50 now, so we will reconvene at 11 a.m. And then we'll continue with Amy. Unless Christine is here, then we'll go with Christine, then Amy, if that's okay. Yep, thank you, Amy. All right, see everybody in 10 minutes.
Conversation.
Oh, let's see that.
Try to remember.
Just unmute to let you know y'all are still not muted.
Just turn the camera off.
Shouldn't be able to.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, go ahead and turn on your cameras if you haven't already. Give everybody a moment to pop back in. Proceed with that. Oh, okay.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Christine.
Okay, very good. All right, we were just seeing who was here among our agenda presenters, and we are going to go back to our previous order and give me just a moment. Yeah. All right, so we are going to go back to item 5C, workforce education updates. I believe Christine Saltzman is now in our meeting. There she comes. Good morning, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much.
Thank you. We're glad to have you with us. And replacing Dr. Jackson to deliver this information and provide us updates. We appreciate it very much. And your role is Interim Assistant Commissioner of Workforce Education at the Coordinating Board, correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. So we are eager to hear from you, any workforce education updates.
Yeah, so got a couple quick updates for the group this morning. We have a lot going on with our state and federal grants right now. So we are in the midst of Perkins Review for Leadership and Basic, and so that's been a very large part of our work recently. We also have opened the RFA for the Texas Reskilling and Upskilling Through Education grant, the TRUE grant. And so that was released on July 23rd and is currently open until the September 9th deadline. So people have questions about that, happy to liaise with the team. We're also working on a programs of study refresh with our tri-agency partners. So, and we have a program of study advisory committee where we've been rethinking what those would look like for Texas moving forward. I think kind of moving on to Workforce Pell, that's been one of the large topics right now. Our Workforce Pell applications are open until September 1st. So we have been working with institutions to sort of move that forward. I heard Cheryl talk about those this morning with, some of the sides of the house that institutions are experiencing with Workforce Pell. And I think we've definitely run into that where we have, a program team submitting through the first step of the form, but then the data team needs to submit separately. And so we have been working really hard with both like program teams, data teams, from institutions to try to move forward those applications and help as best we can. So if anybody is applying for Workforce Pell or is interested in applying for Workforce Pell, we're very happy to be working with you, through the rest of this month to make that happen. Yeah, and we've just been collaborating a lot with our tri-agency partners from TWIC and TWC on the methodology for the high skill, high demand, high wage, or in demand, high skill, high wage careers that will be eligible for Workforce Pell. So all of that information of what programs are eligible is on our website and kind of going through the final steps of that now. So that's been a ton of work in the last couple months. Separately, we continue to stay engaged with some of the governor's manufacturing work, with the Prison Education Advisory Committee, and with some of the nuclear workforce development policy happening in Texas. So kind of business as usual, keep on keeping on. And yeah, those are just a few quick updates.
All right, thank you, Christine. And before you came on, I know that you were on earlier and then you had to step away and you came back to rejoin us. Just before we took a break, we had a robust conversation about artificial intelligence and implications for higher education and society at large. And I wondered if workforce education, if your division is in particular wrestling with AI issues in any capacity, whether it's your business operations or the type of grants that you are seeing come through related to workforce. So yeah, what might be an intersection between AI and your work?
I know on the business operations side that that's something our IT team is investigating, and so they're looking into that as far as what are like agency policies. From a programmatic side, I know we either is about to happen or just happened, but there was an AI group that met with WECM to have some approved programs regarding AI going into the WECM so that schools are able to offer those moving forward. So have some work happening there. And then I can definitely follow up with, as the true grant applications are coming in, if programs are submitting any information regarding AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it being used within your unit to do evaluation of either awarding proposals or of monitoring the work product as it comes in and as they begin to leverage the programs once they're approved? Is that something that you're using it for? Because I suspect certainly some of the applicants are using AI to craft their proposals. So wondering if it has any role on your end.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually are in the process of moving a lot of our grants into a Flux grant management system. And so that's been a big initiative here at the agency. And I am happy to ask the Flux team a little bit more about like if AI is integrated into that platform. I would say from an agency perspective, like with business operations, our IT department has put out a policy around AI use. And so we're continuing to follow that. But I think our grant reviews are still, happening mostly by people just through the Flux system now rather than an AI system.
Excellent. And does Flux stand for something, or is that just the name of the system?
I believe it's the name of the system, but I can double check that right now. Yeah, I think it's just Flux Grant Management System. So we've been integrating that with grants across the agency, not just in workforce education, but have been moving towards that platform to help manage those.
All right, thank you. Yeah, flux is just an interesting word for a product because we know what an influx is. It's an increase of something. Something is also changing. It's in flux. Flux is something that you use when you are doing soldering to help the parts stick together better. It kind of cleans them and abrades them in a way that they'll adhere. So yeah, that's an interesting name for a product. Sorry, personal musing there.
No, all
Christine.
good.
Appreciate your sharing with us and being here, and hope that you will be able to join us again in the future. If there's not someone else designated to do that, we are very grateful that you were able to be here now that Dr. Jackson has moved on to McLennan and other duties there as dean. So thank you for joining us. Do you have any questions for us?
Not right now, but yeah, appreciate the work you're all doing. I know workforce education will continue to be represented here, whether or not that's me, but glad to see you all and happy to, I don't know, be available for questions if anybody has them, especially on Pell or True or any of our open grants right now. So really happy to be working with you all on those.
Thank you. Appreciate you reminding us of those opportunities and for being with us here this Friday. And we'll see you again soon.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye, Christine. All right. Amy, thank you for being so patient with us. If you're ready for us, we are ready for you.
Yes, I am. Good morning. I'm Amy Pfluger, Senior Director for Shared Services in the Student Success and Institutional Partnerships Division at the Coordinating Board. And today I'm here to update you on the Shared Services IT Research and Advisory Services pilot project that we conducted this past year. First, I'm going to give you a little history of how we got here. Back in 2023, the Coordinating Board and Huron, with significant input from LTAC, conducted statewide digital infrastructure landscape surveys covering administrative systems, teaching and learning technologies, and IT infrastructure and security. The surveys identified consistent challenges across institutions and strong interest in collaboration and shared services. Based on those findings and the Texas Commission on Community College Finance's final recommendations, the Coordinating Board established the Shared Services function in January of 2024. Rather than immediately launching into statewide services, the next step was to better understand institutional readiness, priorities, and implementation needs through a pilot. The pilot was designed to answer a simple question. What support do institutions actually need before statewide shared services can be successful? The pilot moved us from those survey findings to institutional specific action plans. 5 community colleges were selected: Del Mar College, Lee College, South Texas College, Trinity Valley Community College, and Wharton College. Infotech Research Group was the vendor competitively procured to provide advisory services and planning support. Each institution received executive advisory support, research access, workshops, benchmarking, and planning resources. The goal was for each college to develop a multi-year IT roadmap, strategic sourcing plans to implement that roadmap, a prioritized technology initiatives list, governance and modernization strategies. The pilot validated those statewide survey findings while providing a much deeper institutional level insight. Common themes across the roadmaps: IT governance and strategic planning, cybersecurity maturity, AI strategy and readiness, data governance and analytics, enterprise application modernization, and disaster recovery and business continuity. Some of the engagements with the vendor and their platform were 437 research downloads. These included templates and industry research items like white papers and quadrant reports. There were 132 advisory engagements, 45 executive counselor experiences, 346 training and development interactions, 5 major workshops completed, one at each institution. Most of them were for AI strategy. There were 2,836 platform visits. Each institution was asked about their average value and time saved on key initiatives by using the services. The estimated value generated, as reported by the institutions, was $2.57 million, and an estimated time savings of 775 days across those participating institutions. So what did we learn during the pilot? First, the challenges identified in the Huron survey were real and consistent across colleges. And institutions need different implementation paths because governance maturity and capacity vary significantly from one institution to another. The advisory support and planning assistance, similar to this pilot and the services provided, filled a genuine gap for institutions. It helped colleges lacking time, staff, and expertise to conduct a thorough technology assessment and planning. And then shared services is most effective as a facilitator and enabler, not a one-size-fits-all solution. The pilot provided the institutional intelligence needed to inform future statewide initiatives. So in closing, I'd like to thank LTAC members for your early contributions to developing the survey. LTAC helped shape those original landscape assessments. The pilot was the next step in that journey. It confirmed challenges identified in 2023, provided participating institutions with practical roadmaps and strategic guidance, and it gave the coordinating board a stronger foundation for determining where shared services can deliver the most value statewide. I'm open to have any questions if you may have.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions from our committee?
Thank you.
I always feel a little guilty when we have no questions at all, when we get such, dense information from someone. So I'm wondering if, as we are entering this next legislative session, if any of the findings from this pilot will be used to support impact statements or used in hearing or testimony to Senate Higher Education Commission or other bodies that are looking for efficiencies and pilots to build on.
I have not been contacted yet by anybody for that, but it certainly could help provide some insights into the cost effectiveness.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, appreciate you being here so much, and you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We give that invitation to everybody who comes and visits with us. It's rarely taken, they have other things to do. So we appreciate your being here with us and look forward to having you join us again if you are willing. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a wonderful weekend. All right, Dr. Main, we are up to item number 7, which is discussion of institutional plans for distance education review. And I believe that is you and Dr. Linda Murphy, the operations subcommittee co-chair.
Yeah, I'll give just kind of an update on where we are in the cycle. We have received 8 of our 9 IPDE submissions that were due in June. The 9th institution has been granted an extension. We have our new review process in place. So those 8 IPDE submissions are under review. Just to back up one step, the 4 institutions that were approved in our June meeting, thank you for that. Those letters have been sent out to those institutions for receiving and accepting their IPDEs for this next round. And then we'll prepare for the 3 IPDE submissions we'll expect in December, and then 10 more in June of 2027. So no shortage of IPDE reviews to look forward to.
You could sound more excited about that. So, and is this a good point to talk about the idea that we floated? And I talked to our research committee about it, subcommittee about it, and they were also enthusiastic about it, of having everyone have an opportunity to review an IPDE regardless of what subcommittee you may be serving on, perhaps before we enlist outside reviewers to also help us. We think we have the volume for that with 13 of them, multiple reviewers for each one in this next year. But I think the underlying idea was that everybody that serves on this LTAC committee should be familiar with an IPDE, and no better way to do that than go through the review process themselves. Ultimately, at some point, it may help your institution when your cycle comes up if you were there at that institution. But just to give you a better understanding of exactly what goes into it, there's been a lot of work to over the years to review and I guess integrate these different quality assurance models and settle on the ones that we have, principles of good practice, things that are coming out of SAC COC, and then come up with the process and the communication patterns and streamline that even more. So I think it's a much lighter lift to say, okay, I'd be willing to do an IPDE review once than it might have been even 12 months ago. So anyway, I went through the full speech there to see if we wanted to talk about that now. Is that something that
I'm watching Dr. Murphy because we haven't had a chance to talk about this in our subcommittee.
Surprise.
Although I suspect, being someone who's recently accepted the position of co-chair for the operations committee, to only lose the other co-chair, ideas for efficiencies and spreading the burdens and labors of love that come with IPDE reviews might be welcome. Maybe we could take it as an agenda item, and Charlene, you tell me too, to flesh it out a little bit in our work group and then come back with some maybe perhaps a proposal.
Exactly.
Sounds fair.
Does that sound okay? Okay.
Sounds good.
Linda,
I think that would be
work for you?
great. We would certainly welcome the help.
Yeah, we couldn't think of any real downside to it, you know, it's like,
It's
good for the individual, it's good for the subcommittee work. And I mean, the only thing is that it might delay participation of outside reviewers, which also has value. Their intersection with the work that LTAC does, awareness of it, possible interest in joining in the future. But I think that, on a scale.
Yeah, I think it's more of a mechanism of figuring out just the logistics and coordination of expanding the number of reviewers who are in play at any given moment. So
We want to invite everybody to the sandbox. That's what we're trying to do.
And we can write it up in such a way that it's free professional development for each of you. Yeah. Look what you can do now. You have this skill. Yay. It's a certificate now or something.
Dr. Gator's faces she's like, oh, what have I signed up for?
I'm calling me. Yeah. Well, yeah, and we'll have how many new people coming in?
5.
It would be a surprise to them.
Yes.
Wait, I didn't know I was going to be doing this too. All right. So, do we have? So that was your update. Linda, did you have anything else?
I was just going to say, we do not have any recommendations to present to LTAC at this time. We, as Dr. Main had indicated, we have several proposals that are under review. I do have a couple of things to say. First of all, we recently lost Dr. Sarah Lee, who is my co-chair. So if anybody's interested in co-chairing this committee, I would love to talk to you. Also, I really want to thank Dr. Main. When I first started working with the IPDEs, we were having to go to multiple documents to look at stuff. It was very cumbersome and time consuming. And she has really worked to make this so much easier for the reviewers. And so we really do appreciate your help, Gwen. We couldn't have made it without you. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was something else, but
No, that kind of concludes my report at this time.
all right,
Anyway.
very good. So I think with that, we actually have 2 agenda items that we have covered because there are no IPDE approvals to be considered. So any questions about IPDE review at this point? I know it will be a point of discussion in your subcommittee. All right, we will move on with the next agenda item, which is our discussion of work group subcommittee realignment and naming. So if you were here at the last meeting or you watched the video or you read the notes, you know that we were looking at renaming our subcommittees perhaps to be more relevant, more explanatory of what the work is that they actually do. But also we were looking at separately, perhaps, the what our purpose is in regulations, our stated purpose and charge, and then how those responsibilities map to the work that each of our subcommittees is doing. And so we provided something that a matrix that AI had created, kind of looking at those and going, okay, here is what seemed to be the primary of each responsibilities of each of those committees. And secondarily, they may also do these other things. And then we ask in the interim period, since our last meeting, that the subcommittees convene, discuss those alignments for their subcommittee, and then come back with recommendations. And I think that work may be at different stages. I know that the operations group, it was operations who met, right? And provided us the template.
Mm-hmm.
And then QA and research were asked to also do that similar work. I know that Tim and Aaron, you convened us this week, and not everybody was able to be there, but we did have rich discussion. And Tim, you did a great job gathering our notes, summarize those, redistributing those for us to talk about in the research subcommittee. So for the QA, and that would be, is Janet, you're still here, right?
Yes.
So what is the status of that work for your group?
So
Were
we
you
were,
able to convene?
Wade and I met with Linda and Sarah, and they brought us up to speed. I had to miss the last meeting, and so Wade jumped in there and helped, and then we spoke. And Wade, feel free to add to this. And so we spoke about some of the possible renaming or changing slightly the quality assurance to perhaps standards instead of assurance or practice. And that would kind of align with keeping PGP with our group. And then today we'll be able to speak with the other. And if anyone, I'm just going to put a shameless plug in here. If you're new, be thinking about joining our quality assurance, soon to be renamed, I think, possibly something slightly different. Wade, you have anything you want to add in?
No, that pretty much, I think you got all the high topics of what was discussed over the last couple of months.
All right, very
and
good.
Linda, if you have something you want to add in, go ahead.
All right, thank you. And I think we were ambitious, like that we would convene and have a shared working document where we would already be able to see where they intersect and what the proposed names are. I didn't get that document, so I know that you didn't either. So I think change in our swimming upstream here, that during your subcommittee meetings that we'll have shortly and breakout, to discuss those same things and finalize those for your group. And then we can synthesize that in a document subsequently. Name changes, if we think those are pretty solid, we could go ahead and consider those. The responsibilities and where they sit is primarily, we might need more time with that. But again, open to adapting the process as the committee sees fit. That's just kind of how I thought we might be able to move it forward, make some progress today. Comments, questions on that? Because I'm kind of making it up on the fly, just so you know.
That works.
Yeah, okay, excellent. All right, so that was our discussion of what the task is. We have as item 10, consideration on possible action to recommend proposals resulting from work groups. So I think that's probably premature since we had this overarching general discussion, and we're going to have the real meat of the discussion in item 11, which is our workforce subcommittees. So I'm going to suspend item 10 and have us move into our work group breakouts next. Look at the time, 11:30. We go to 12:15. Does that sound good?
Mhm.
That gives you 45 minutes as a group, and then we can reconvene at 12:15. I am going to say that we need to let people grab lunch if they need it.
Sure.
Yeah, so we'll start our breakouts. Go ahead and go to your breakouts as soon as I wrap up this introduction, and then start those meetings at 11:35. So that gives people about 6-7 minutes to grab a sandwich, take a short break if they need to. And then we will still reconvene at 12:15. And Linda, I know you were looking for a co-chair, and that's probably on the agenda for your subcommittee's work. But if there is somebody that is in another group that would like to move to take that opportunity to work with Linda and co-chair that subcommittee, I would offer that invitation here. So kind of raise your hand if you're interested. Otherwise, we will go ahead. Oh,
I'm not
yay, Ashley.
interested
No, I know.
because I unfortunately am not going to be serving again. We didn't get our nomination in. So but I do want to make a plug for Linda. Because the operations subcommittee one is fabulous. Working with Gwen is fantastic. She works heavily with us. But there's so much that's needed in that space. So I know I'm not trying to take away from Janet and her awesome stuff too, but operations really needs folks, and it's really a rewarding group to work in. So if you're new or you've been here a while and you're like, I haven't really contributed in a big way, Linda would love you. And I just wanted to say that. So yeah.
And Linda's awesome to work with, so you'll love Linda too. So yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that, Ashley. Appreciate it. And very disappointed that you won't be with us for the next year, but hope you will be again in the future. I did mention this at the top of the meeting before you were able to join. And I actually thought you were on the call and I just wasn't seeing you as I looked around on the big screen here. Appreciate your service. I said this to everyone, but appreciate it. We will miss you until we get you back again, hopefully. And Gwen and I have also made a commitment to redouble our efforts to make sure that that link between reappointments and the people who make them at institutions is something that we do our very best to make, to keep connected.
Appreciate you. I do.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Thank you. All right, with that, we are going to take now about a 5-minute break, but we're going to go to our breakout rooms now. And so if we can go ahead and get our slide up, and you should be able to join the room that, well, let me see, it's unassigned. So I'm going to ask for some tech guidance here. How do people join the room of the appropriate group?
There are 3 different rooms and they should just be able to pick whichever room that they would like.
Okay, I'm seeing the pop-up here, but it's different. All right. If anybody has any questions, then they can come off mute and ask us while we're still here in this main room.
Close it.
Okay, we're almost done.
Okay.
All right, welcome back, everyone. You would go ahead and turn your cameras back on so we can see you here in the room. And Dr. Main, if you can make sure we have quorum to continue with any official business. Erasmus? Yeah.
He's coming back. There he is.
Oh, okay. I
17.
thought maybe
to run to take a quick bathroom.
No, you're all right. All right. So spoiler, Erasmus agreed to co-chair a committee, and then I saw his empty chair there. So I was like, uh-oh. He realized the gravity of the situation and he is out of there. He bolted. But no,
We have quorum.
we have quorum. So we will pick up with our breakout group activities to debrief from the subcommittees and have you report out. And if there are any action items that we need to vote on, we will consider those in a subsequent item as well. So I'm just going to go in the order that we have them here. And that is quality assurance, then research, then operations, and then our student advisory subcommittee. So Janet or Wade, which of you will be reporting for QA?
Janet had to leave at noon, so that would be me.
Okay, that's right. I remember she was out by noon. She gets a pass. So it is you, Wade. So we will let you go ahead.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda to discuss was the name of our subcommittee. As you recall or know, that it's currently quality assurance, and we had a healthy debate and we landed on quality standards. Realizing,
Okay.
yes. Now, I don't know if that requires a vote or we want to wait to the very end for all the subcommittees to vote at once, but I'll leave that to you guys to decide. But that's what our committee landed on, quality standards.
Yeah, so I think maybe do a straw poll as each group reports out, and then if there are no objections in the straw polls, we'll do a separate item to approve them all at the same time. So if that's okay, does anybody have any objection to quality standards or any concerns about that name change? And if not, then we'll hold it to a vote with the other proposed name changes once we get done with our report out. All right, 5-second countdown for objections. Or as fast as I move my fingers. So, all right. So sounds like that's good. We'll put that in the bin to vote on formally after this, after the report outs.
Great. We have a couple of items which we discussed. We looked at the regulatory assignment map, which the subcommittee would certainly be responsible for, being OER and PGP. We discussed that PGP most likely needs to be reviewed when the new standards for SAC COC come out. I do believe they're in process now, and I think October-ish we'll ship a final. So we need to look at our own PGP to make sure that they are aligned with SAC COC in the future. As realized that that's important. The other thing is OER. We need to do, since this is kind of a newer charge for this committee, it was in the name, we removed it because we thought it would be implied. We need to look at our responsibilities there and going forward to make sure we hit our marks there. And that's going to be something new as we go forward for this subcommittee. So that's going to be important. And our last topic was folder sharing. We want to make sure that we can actually work on documents in real time versus email. We think that's important to understand as we go forward. And we may have a solution for Teams, but we'll have to look at that as we go forward, realizing that we might have some new members after we determine who could be new to our team after September. So those are the 3 topics that we covered. If I missed anything from our new quality standards group here, please let me know.
Wayne, I do have a question. You talked about you're going to review PGP because of the SAC standards. Do y'all have a process in place for some of those other alignments that were a part of PGP to make sure that nothing gets lost or left out?
We just started right now. So we'll need to develop that, because in the past we were charged with kind of giving best practices for IDPE, and that's kind of changed. So we'll need to revamp our charge, if you will, going forward to make sure we hit those standard marks.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Charlene. Are you talking about like mapping across to
the mapping?
Oh, okay. As someone who was part of the last PGP revision, whether it's the way in which it's done, we definitely have what we did before, which includes a huge matrix that aligns 4 different scorecards to all of the PGP standards. So that's all available to the quality standards group going forward, if you want to have a look at what was done before. And both Janet and Robert Green were critical in that, so.
And Janet had mentioned that, well, not specifically, but she will be obviously an important piece to this as we go forward based on her experience in the past.
Yeah, cool, yeah.
Excellent. And Wade, I think the other part of the charge was to look at the
OER
alignment between the charge from the legislature and statute and the regs that created us and the responsibilities covered by your subgroup, and using that matrix that we had circulated as the basis for that. Did your group have an opportunity to look at that alignment? And if so, were there any changes that you saw?
We did not have time, no.
Okay. I do want to handle that in terms of
Probably,
moving this forward in the
yeah.
next cycle.
Yeah, let's maybe hear what the other groups have done, and then we'll just start a draft, a working document draft.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you. So for right now, Wade, what I'm hearing is the action item we have is the name change, and the other things in terms of scope of work is an internal decision to the subcommittee, and it seems to align with what is practical at this time in terms of reviewing PGP. And because again, things change, and AI certainly seems like it needs to be addressed in there and has not been to date, right? I mean, at least specifically.
Right, yeah. Well, and thank you for bringing that up, Wade, too, because the IPD is specifically based off of the PGP.
Right.
The 10 questions that we ask institutions are out of, sourced, I guess, from the PGP. So they'll, in theory, would be an update there perhaps.
Yeah, and really the idea, correct me if I'm remembering wrong, but that crosswalk was, okay, we are using the PGP as the guide for IPDE, but we are looking at these other things like Quality Matters and Oscar and what am I forgetting?
Yeah.
OLC. But those are all ultimately reflected in the revised PGP that we put into place. And that crosswalk then shows, oh, it's also covered here and here in these other standards. And the idea behind that, again, if I recall correctly, was to help institutions with all of these compliance things so they don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm starting from scratch again. Go ahead and give them a tool to go, oh, we need to answer this question. We already answered it over here with our Quality Matters application. So we just put that in. So yeah, that might be the work that needs to be redone, is adjust the PGP and then look and see if it still maps to the same places in those other standards.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that's really relevant that is not yet mapped that needs to be incorporated in PGP, kind of bi-directional. So yeah, I think that shouldn't be any disagreement on the need for that kind of work or the appropriateness of your committee to conduct it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And like you were saying earlier, Janet and Robert were so crucial. They'll be the ones to be able to do some quick evaluations, and it won't be a load on the group with their expertise.
Oh, with Robert coming back on.
With Robert coming back and Janet, yeah.
Correct. So that'll be obviously essential as we go forward, and so we can edit that as needed, and their expertise certainly will be valued.
Got it.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Any questions for Wade before we move on to the next subcommittee? I hear music all over the place. Wow.
It's a Friday.
I don't know. Maybe it's in the park or something. So we're going to adjourn in just a few minutes so I can go listen to the live music. No. All right. So next group is our research group, Dr. Tim Snyder, Dr. Aaron McGough, and Tim is stepping aside. So we have an announcement about a new co-chair as well. Aaron, I believe you're going to give our report out.
Okay. So our group did have the discussion that we realized we have 3 of our subcommittee members who will actually have terms that are coming to an end. So want to thank Oscar, Robin, and Tim for all of their hard work. And in particular, Tim, for being the best co-chair ever. You will be greatly missed, not only just for your co-chairing skills, but you've been a wealth of knowledge and always bring so much enthusiasm and passion to everything that you've done here with us. So thank you so much for all of that. But Nikki Whiteside has graciously accepted the role as co-chair moving forward with myself. And we will be practicing our speech ready for the next meeting to recruit some new members as well. Ashley, you did such a great job at, kind of selling your group. We're going to live up to that next time as well. Like the other groups, we looked at our name change, and we are putting forward as well a new name for our subcommittee, which would be Research, Innovation, and Student Success. And our group unanimously felt like this better represented the work that is being conducted in our subcommittee. This also gave us a good opportunity to look at our alignment and to look at the themes of both our subcommittee and LTAC so that we can direct our future work in alignment with these themes as well. As a part of this, with being research falling under our umbrella, We started to also talk about how can we continue to do research that will be relevant, meaningful, and impactful, especially as we do know sending out surveys at times can take a lot to develop it. It can take a lot of time, and then by the time you send it out to the individuals who are completing it, is it still relevant, especially in this ever-changing world of digital technology and AI? And so we thought that we would try a different approach of the pulse surveys. And so pulse surveys, which are really short surveys, often only a couple of questions. We're even thinking just one question at a time every few months, so that information is timely and relevant by the time we get the feedback, because there are concerns. If you asked an AI question, if you asked if the institution felt ready, the readiness around AI today, you may say yes, and then tomorrow AI changes, and then your answer would have changed. So we feel like this may be a way to keep up with the times. And in order to do this, we're going to do a pilot project and see how it goes by actually using our LTAC committee here of sending out a survey about what questions would you like us to have, what questions do you have that you would like answered? And so we're going to try a pulse survey out to this group, pilot how that would work and what the format would look like. And then we also talked about how we communicate and how we ask these questions out to the wider network. Often the research we've done in the past went through the chief academic officers, but we know they are very, very busy, inboxes are full, and not always the best contact necessarily for the questions and the information that we want to receive back. So we're going to explore whether or not another list exists within LTAC for digital contacts, and or maybe asking CAOs who is it that we would communicate with on these short survey questions. But so yes, be looking out for us to kind of be canvassing you for what questions you would like answered from our group as well, especially knowing the scope of what we are here to do. We also would like to propose to the group that as co-chairs of the subcommittees and chairs and co-chairs of LTAC, that maybe once or twice a year we also had a short meeting and to make sure that the subcommittees, that we are kind of being bi-directional in terms of what our needs are and making sure that we are in alignment with each other, and see if there's anything that you need from us as a group, or we need to be providing you, or what we need you to provide us. Not every session, or nothing too onerous, but just an occasional get together in a little meeting to just again check in with the subcommittees and make sure we're all getting what we need. So we would like to propose that to the group as well. Tim, again, thank you so much for your hard work and dedication. Was there anything that I missed that you wanted to add from our discussions?
No, I think you covered everything, Aaron. But again, thanks to this group, I've really enjoyed being part of it. Made lots of good friends and connections over the years, and I'm only an email away if anybody ever needs anything from me.
We're holding you
Thank
to
you,
that.
Tim. And you said 8 years that you've been on LTAC, is that right?
I believe it was, yeah, 7 or 8.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you again for your service. Sorry, Aaron, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's all.
All right. So I'm going to enter in research innovation and student success as the proposed name that we will vote on when we get the third proposed name from the operations group. And I think we could go ahead and enter, well, maybe we should wait until we get to the one that's for actual possible action on recommendations. But I think it would be good just to officially have the group vote on the change in governance, hierarchy, communication patterns, having the co-chairs meet. I don't know that we have to vote on it, but I think it would be good to hear that makes sense to everybody, and make it an official action, and we'll have it in our notes too, and it'll happen maybe, or we can remember later that we forgot to do it and go back and it's actually in our notes. So anyway, procedure. Dr. Murphy, operations, you have a new co-chair as well.
I do. I'm very excited. Erasmus today has agreed to be the co-chair, so thank you so much, Erasmus. I really appreciate you. Our committee did talk about our name. We are proposing to be called the Institutional Review Process and Practice Committee. In the past, we were the Operations Committee, and then the QA Committee came in, and we actually did the IPDEs, and then they were supposed to come up with exemplars. Well, that didn't make sense because we're the ones that actually see the IPDEs. So we're thinking by including process and practice, that makes more sense because we'll do both. We'll do the exemplars as well as the process itself.
I'm sorry, Linda, can you tell me that again? I was listening, and then can you repeat that name for me so I can make sure I get it right?
Institutional Review Process and Practice.
Process and practice.
Yeah. And we also took out the name IPDE because we could change the name at some point. So we just call it Institutional Review. We also were very excited that the proposal came up that every member of LTAC would serve on an IPDE committee at some point. We would love that to happen. Just so that you know, IPDEs typically come in June. That's usually the community college ones. And then December, those are the senior college ones. June is the heavier month because there's more community colleges. We're trying to work on the guidelines right now, so we'll have something to propose to you at a later date. But we're kind of looking at people volunteering to serve for a 3-month period, either for the June group that comes in or the December group. So when we say 3 months, you're not doing something all 3 months. It normally takes maybe a couple of hours every other week or so until you get yours done. So it's not quite as heavy as it sounds, but we'll try to come up with some better guidelines on that before our next meeting. And then finally, let's see. Oh, I need to do that. We're going to be having our next round of proposals. We hope will be due at our next LTAC meeting, which will be in October, November, whenever the next one happens. Is there anything I'm leaving out?
Anything that you wanted to mention about alignment? You did mention between charge and what your committee is responsible for. You did mention the exemplars, but anything else, especially relative to the matrix that we looked at, going here are the charges, here where they are covered by a subcommittee?
No, we kind of feel like the IPDE is our main charge.
Yeah. That's enough, right?
It is. And we do know that some of that's going to change depending on what happens with the PGP.
Sure. So I think maybe it would make sense also to vote on the item you mentioned about each LTAC member completing at least one IPDE. We don't need to put in there that it's 3-month term or whatever. Yeah. It does make sense that if we have people from community colleges that they're reviewing community college proposals and senior institution senior, but I know that may not line up with our representation on LTAC. But is there a time period in which we would expect every member to do one? Would it be one per year? Or would it be one and you're done unless you volunteer to do more during your term of service? What are your thoughts there?
That's what we're working out. It depends on how many are coming in, but our goal is that everybody would do one. And then if we have enough people, you wouldn't have to do multiple ones.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so this is what I will put on our voting docket here is that each LTAC member would complete at least one IPDE regardless of what subcommittee they're on during their membership.
Correct.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much. And now for our student advisory committee report out.
Could I revise that? It would be one per year. Or did you say?
One per membership.
Over 3.
So 3 year, yeah.
Oh, so, no, it'd be one per year.
It's one per year.
Okay, so you would be
possibly
doing
one per year. I mean, it depends how many come in.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to put together
kind of a schematic on
See if the numbers
based on the number of members we
Yeah.
have versus what we expect. I mean, we can look out quite a few rotations to see what that would kind of be. So
And then to the other folks on LTAC, one of the things that was stated was because you get to do a review, it gives you a chance to be a little bit nosy, to see what other institutions are doing, to be inspired and be excited about what other folks are doing. And it also gives you a chance to participate so that when it's your institution's time, you kind of know what to expect. So that's why hopefully you'll be excited to join us, knowing that we're sharing. The committee has done the hard work of knowing the process, streamlining it. Coordinating board has supported that streamlining, and now we want you to join us in this exciting process.
No kidding though, Charlene. What you just said is absolutely correct. I mean, there's things that I have seen in the reviews I've been a part of that I'm like, oh, we do that. I don't even know if I would have thought to say that in my report. Or, oh, that's a really interesting way to do it. It would actually probably help us at Lamar if we did it that way. So it really is very impactful for your own university processes, I think.
I agree. Actually, I've learned so much from all of our institutions. I sometimes think the reviewers get more out of this than the people having to submit it. So it really is a very wonderful process. We have a lot of really creative people in this state, and so it's kind of exciting to see all of them. So I hope you'll consider this and be positive about it. I think it'll be fun. Again, it's not as much work as it sounds because we have refined the process a lot.
So for example, we have 12 that we expected this year for June plus December, where the goal is to assign 3 reviewers per. So if that's the case, that would be 36 unique reviews. So somewhat, there's a group of people that maybe would do 2.
And to me, the people doing 2 would be on our committee.
So
We
one
would
to
take on
subcommittee members,
the
yeah.
subcommittee would take on that.
So 1 to 2 a year,
Yeah.
depending on the committee.
So maybe we just say that each LTAC member will complete at least one IPDE and we leave it to be determined whether that's per year, per membership.
Yes.
As you look at these numbers and
Yes.
what that workload seems like. Yeah, okay. So that is on our voting docket. So sorry to run ahead there to John. Anything else related to what may soon be called Institutional Review Process and Practice Subcommittee? Does that have a handy, no? I was looking to see if it had a handy acronym.
IRPP, no.
Yeah, the IRPP. The
Double P.
the ARPA. All right. Yeah. Research has RIS, so I don't know. There would be a certain age at which they would groan at that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, right.
Well done.
No, not going to use that for recruiting. Apparently. So, all right, John, thanks for being patient with us, and we'd love to hear what you have to share from the Student Advisory Committee.
All right, so for the Student Advisory Committee, last time we met, we talked about, this is kind of general, but we talked about how there's many students who are eager and want to be enabled to participate in innovation and learning technologies, and not just be on the receiving end, but being able to, again, participate in those advancements and have a role in shaping and implementing them wherever that is possible and practical and appropriate. And the other thing we talked about was what we talked about earlier today in discussions about how emerging technology can threaten entry-level internship opportunities, and how those internship opportunities can really give valuable exposure and experience to the workforce and soft skills, professional skills, and overall workforce readiness.
All right, thank you. And you're comfortable with being called the Student Advisory Group? We don't need to. revisit
Yes.
that, no name change or I guess
Yeah.
it's student advisory subcommittee. Yeah.
Student subcommittee.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. Well, I didn't hear any voting actions needed for your group, but any questions for John? Who gets to sit in on those from the staff?
Marianne and I do.
Mary, awesome, both of you. Well, it sounds like fun. I think we probably all like to listen in. So very cool. Thank you, John. I appreciate your representation of students across the state. So now that was our discussion and report out. So we are at item number 13, which is consideration and possible action to recommend action resulting from work group sessions. So I think the first item that we had on our voting docket is the name changes for our 3 subcommittees, under which quality assurance would become quality standards, research would become research innovation and student success, and operations would become the institutional review process and practice. Well, it'd just be institutional review process and practice, no D at the beginning. So those are the 3 proposed names for the subcommittee. Anybody have any questions about any of these names? Otherwise, I would accept a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve. This is Wade.
All right, we have a motion from Wade.
I'll second.
And a second from Ashley. So now I can ask if there is any discussion or further questions about those name changes. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. If you would, raise your hand if you support those name changes. We'll do a count here.
Unanimous.
It is unanimous. The motion carries. So we have new names for our subcommittees. Excellent. Thank you all. Hope y'all had fun exploring that and testing the waters on what sounded best and covered your charges. All right. The second item I have on the voting docket is the proposal for the subcommittee co-chairs and the LTAC chair, co-chair to convene on a period to be determined frequency. Let's say at least twice a year, just to put a number in there, and it could be more than that as the group decides. So anybody willing to offer that motion?
So moved.
Nikki, great, coming out of our group. So fantastic. Is there a second?
Second, Sean.
Sean is our second. And so we have an opportunity now for discussion or questions about this item. Wasn't really expecting any. Sounds like a great idea. So I will call the vote. Everybody in favor, please raise your hand.
Unanimous.
And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Motion is approved. So now we'll have to figure out how to do that. But that probably is going to be the easy part. And our last item, as far as I know, for a vote is coming from, and I guess if something comes out of a subcommittee, we don't even need the motion. We just need the second, right? So I'll do it right this time. So we have a recommendation coming out of the operations group that each LTAC member would complete at least one IPDE per year. Yep. So that is the motion from the subcommittee, and that means we don't need a second, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any discussion or questions about that item?
I'll just say that I think it's a great idea, but I think there needs to be someone who owns the spreadsheet of who, when, and where on this, because that's going to be a big one.
Fair. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. So are you owning it? No.
I do. I
Okay.
do own that.
All right. We already have an owner, Wade, but good observation. Any other comments or questions? All right, let's vote for each one of you to have more responsibilities who are continuing over, right? So all in favor, raise your hand and we will count. And y'all are so quick. It looks like it's
unanimous.
unanimous again.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Great, motion carries. And so each LTAC member will complete at least one IPDE per year. So that is all of our voting items for right now. Let's see.
That is a game changer, I'm just going to say. So thank you for that.
That's a big deal. And I think it's a game changer on many fronts. One, efficiency in getting this work done, but for the individual members, the benefits that you will receive in exchange for your service and time spent on IPDE reviews. I think, yeah, everybody wins. Game changer on both sides of the equation. Yep. All right, so we're nearing the end of our agenda, but we have an item here for discussion of future agenda items and our meeting calendar. So regarding our meeting calendar, Dr. Manning will send out a poll to all members to set the next fiscal year meetings. We found that to be really helpful to set out the full 4 year. We used to do these, like we would try to schedule the next meeting at the previous meeting. And yeah, it just has worked out much better in the last couple of years when we have planned out the entire year calendar. So if you are a returning member, expect to see that poll for when our quarterly meetings will be during the next membership year, which starts as of September 1st. And I think somebody alluded to October, November timeframe. This membership year, our first meeting was in January. Given that the legislature will be in session in January, it'd be great if we could all come together in October or November, as was suggested, or the latest December. But we know that slide after Thanksgiving into the holidays is kind of tough for everybody. So expect the poll.
And I'm waiting for all of the appointment letters to go out so that new members, brand new members to the LTAC receive their appointment letter first. And then I'll send the poll immediately after to start working on the annual meeting schedule.
Yeah, so that's probably the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
As the new membership year approaches.
Yep.
So again, be on the lookout for that. So the other part of this agenda item is discussion of future agenda items. And so I will open the floor now to see if there are any things that we don't regularly have as standing items on our agenda that we might need to consider adding. Now, any of you that are ending your membership, you should throw some firecrackers in the fire of here's the things y'all need to have on your agenda in the future, but I'll respect you if you don't. That's fine. All right.
Wait, is Ashley talking? Sorry.
She is, but I don't know if she's talking to
No.
us.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No. Good eye. Good eye. All right. So I'm not hearing any proposals for future agenda items. So we will close that agenda item. And anything else for the good of the body before we consider adjournment? Any upcoming activities, announcements that we want to publicize for Gwen to disseminate and share? Of course, you can do that afterwards by email.
Definitely send those by email if they're not on your mind now or if they come up. And also I'll just, as I always love to plug, our student subcommittee is made up of student nominations from you as members. So just we are always accepting new student nominations for that subcommittee at any time. So
It raises a question in my mind when we are sending the welcome letters or the letters to our new members that are coming in. Do we let them know about the student advisory committee and opportunity that they could nominate someone from their institution? Because they probably wouldn't know about that.
yeah, we don't put it in the appointment letter itself, just because that's a pretty formal templatized letter. But we do host a new member training and we incorporate that discussion there.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, then. It is not quite 1 o'clock and, oh, sorry.
I think Dr. Gaynor
Dr. Gaynor.
I'm so sorry. I guess I got excited and hit the hand button. Let me lower my hand.
Just one.
We appreciate your excitement.
Thank you.
No worries. No worries. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then I would consider a motion to adjourn.
Do we all want to stay here? And I'll second it. There you go. We all want to stay.
All right. Did somebody actually? Oh, who?
Sean, I moved to adjourn.
Sean
Actually
moved.
seconded.
I
Sean, you're our
seconded.
hero. Thank you. We're going to be here for a while. It's not going to go hear the music. So we have a motion, and this is the only one that doesn't require a second. All in favor of adjournment? Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure this one is unanimous too. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Glad we're out a little bit early this time, even though we got a late start. Thank you for your patience with the technology challenges. It's what we do, right? So it's just what.
No, I think Sean.
Sean, is your hand still up?
Still made a motion, I think.
Yeah, sorry, that was my computer.
No problem. Just didn't want to leave anybody hanging there. So high five right back at you. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. If you're traveling, safe travels. And we will see you soon. Next communication you should get is regarding the poll for our next cycle of meetings. If you are continuing on. Again, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.